Hey there, you purpose driven go getters, you awesome coaches, consultants, and service based online entrepreneurs. Welcome to the Collaboration Chronicles, from coffee chat to cash flow. This is the podcast and show where we spill the tea on collaborations and, of course, virtual events that actually grow your business. I'm Katy Suick, entrepreneur coach, event strategist, and collaboration expert, and of course, your guide to building connections that truly matter. Whether you're here to brainstorm your next virtual event, listen up about other collaborations, or you just want to simply hear from these awesome, inspiring entrepreneurs who are making waves, you are in the right place. So grab your coffee or wine, I don't judge, and let's dive in, because magic happens when we stop going it alone and we start building together. Hello, everybody. I am really probably more excited than usual because I bought my coach, my friend, my partner in crime, not so little, larger than me partner in crime, my Monopoly man is in the house with me today. I just want to make sure this is actually working because
Make sure we're
that would
live.
suck. I really wanted to bring him in to do an impromptu, totally unscripted, by the way. We are literally just going to go with whatever comes today. But the real reason I wanted you here, Mr. Travis, is because you're a kick-ass coach, number one, and you've helped me in a lot of ways. But also, I just think you have a lot of value to share around selflessly serving, having fun. Where's your
Mm.
mustache? You must show them again your
I know
mustache.
it's funny. So Katie won. I was like, "Will you wear it again?" So for those of you that can't see, I do have like a
Real
scruff beard
mustache.
going, and it's funny because when I was doing the Entrepreneuropoly Summit, for those of you that have no clue what we're talking about, Katie helped me build out the entire Entrepreneuropoly Summit. And when I was doing the photo shoot for it to get this on to be, to turn into the Monopoly Man, I realized it didn't stick. So I had to shave my beard, and I've kind of been going back and forth with that identity this entire time, but this is where we're at now. So it once again does not stick.
We're going to have to settle for Mr. Travis instead of Monopoly Man, although I think the two converge because
They
it
do.
really
They're
is,
one and the same.
yeah. But what I love about your approach, Matt, is again, this is totally unscripted, so we're keeping it real today, guys. One of the things that I've really appreciated about working with Matt is that this is has been an opportunity for me for the last year and a half to be in a hybrid coaching support program where I'm not expected to follow a certain framework. I'm not
Mm.
expected to fit a certain mold. And I think that's important in the world of business, that you find someone to support you where you're at and to be very, very, very patient with you when, when your stuff comes up.
I wear a
Right,
lot of
Matt?
hats. I wear a lot of hats. So it's, I don't know. For those of you that are watching, you probably recognize that the the coaching world is it's full of there's a lot of people in this space, okay? And it is still the Wild West right now. Like it's we're the infancy, of
Really.
online, like we're paving the way for the future. So there's really not anyone out there monitoring this. So a lot of times you may join a program and it's like, here, join our coaching program, but it's more of a consulting program, telling them what they did to get them results. And then you just follow the formula and it will work out. And my biggest problem with that is the fact that if I said, Katie, you have to do it just like me, or you have to just follow the format or formula that I teach without bringing any part of you, number one, it won't work for you because simply on the fact that like you do not have the same identity, beliefs, values, standards, habits, subconscious programming that I do. So
Right.
there's so many other things. And I've said this to you many times. I really am very against the coaching programs out there that blame the lack of your results on your mindset. That's what we call mindset shaming, folks. And that shit's not allowed in my program because I actually do real mindset shit with people that actually creates real changes and real results. This isn't just I went to a Tony Robbins over the weekend,
Right.
and I came back and I was like hyped up and I was like, I want to be a mindset coach. I've been in this for 20 fucking years, y'all. Sorry with the effing, but that's I just get very passionate about the industry because I
Yeah.
know how powerful coaching can be, folks. I know how powerful services can be. The Entrepreneuropoly Summit would never have come to light without Katy. Like, period. Would never, ever, ever have happened. When I pitched her this idea, I said, this is the idea I have. I want to create this Monopoly board game and I want to I want to bring back fun to entrepreneurship. Like, I
Fun.
want it to be fun again. And it comes from, for those of you that I'm brand new to, like, I was a physical education teacher for kindergarten to third graders for 18 years. So, like, I'm basically the adult version of Peter Pan. Like, I just never wanted to grow up. Like, I have no shame in just being weird and like playing and just being myself. Because, folks, if you can't be yourself online, then you will not attract your ideal clients. I'm going to say that again. If you cannot be yourself, you're dorky, amazing, geeky,
Wackadoodle.
wonderful, wackadoodle, frizzy hair, no beard, mustache, bag of money self, then what are you doing? Like, what are we doing here? One of my favorite quotes is, if you take, don't take life too seriously because you're never going to get out alive.
It's so
I just
true.
love it, you know? And this is the thing, and Katy knows this because we've worked on this for a very long time. When you're in this game, it can feel really serious. It
It's
can
true.
feel really serious. It's like, I gotta get clients, I gotta pay the bills, all this stuff, right? And I want you folks, if you're listening to this, I want you to, if you do nothing else with our conversation today, is just take the time to capture your language. That's all. Take the time to capture your language. What I want you to do is I want you to go into the notes section of your phone, and anytime you have automatic negative thought stories that come up for you, say them out loud and capture them in your notes section, because that alone will help you become aware of some of the limiting subconscious beliefs that you have that you might not realize are sabotaging your results. And it's such a simple thing that I just shared, like such a
Yeah.
simple thing. And yet it is one of the most powerful things you could do for yourself, because if you don't know the language you're using, like, I need to get clients, I need to make sales, I need, like, these are things, when you are saying those things, everything about that is lack energy, because there it's a statement, but it's also a thought that's emotionally charged.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so what happens, Katy knows this, like, if you emotionally charge a thought, it becomes a subconscious program. And then you can get stuck in it for your whole life if you want to. But
Mm-hmm.
what's so important about this, and like, this was me when I came to Katy, I was like, running a summit scares me. It like scared me because there's a lot of like unknown, right? There's just a lot of unknown in the summit world, more than you can ever even fathom until you do it. And that's what happens when you get into this, is you get to see the other side of things. Like, you get to, it really shows the level of robotics that lives inside of Katy Sewick's brain. Like, it's like like, she is, like, there's, it's a coin flip, folks. She may or may not be a robot. We don't know. Okay. But when you bring her into your world, like, I realized, like, and I called her my Jiminy Cricket, because I needed somebody there to kind of lead me through the process of what it takes to run a successful summit. And I mean, up until this point, just so far, just like, because when you're running a summit, folks, this is the other thing that people don't realize. You're not monetizing any of that. It is all pure value. Like, it's just like, it's what Katy was saying earlier, something I teach all the time. It's literally what we call selfless serving. It's the definition of it. It's
Yeah.
you're giving all this value with really not, you're not asking for anything in return. I guess the only thing that you're asking for is your email or phone number. It's basically just capturing your information. Okay. So that eventually there can be some marketing done in the back end. However, the beginning of it, and especially like the way, if you watch Katy this week, like she's just a master class. Like she's giving a master class. If you're not even digging the content, just watch how she does it. Watch how she's being while she's just serving. She's creating caring connections with all of you amazing folks that are showing up. She is selflessly serving. And then one of the last pieces that I like, and this is my formula, so caring connection, selfless serving, and I think gamified growth is my third favorite piece to this puzzle, because gamification is something that's built in, I think, innately in the human being. When I was a teacher, it was something where, and just so you all understand what I'm talking about, there's like when I was working with kids, there's some kids that hate competition, like hate it.
Right.
Actually, they get triggered when you keep score. They would ask me, they'd say, Mr. Travis, do we have to keep score? Because they don't, because in their mind, if you keep score, there's potential for what? Losing.
Failure,
Failure.
losing. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they don't want to have to go through that pain. And that happens for a lot of people at the beginning, right? So some people don't like the competition. So the key to this is when you're creating really fun gamification, it's making it a game competing with yourself. That's a key to this, folks, right? You can build it in multiple ways. It's competing with yourself, competing, you can have competing with others, competing with self, and cooperating with others. So you can have all of these and cooperating with self. So you can have those four pieces, okay? And it's so important to incorporate that into everything that you do, because that is how we drive human psychology to take action. That's how our subconscious is wired. And then more importantly, I feel like we're doing a masterclass right now, Katy, on a lot of the coaching we've gone through. So,
Hey, it's totally about bringing value.
so many of you watching may be fighting with your mind. You may be fighting your subconscious, okay? And when you do that, you're making it feel more unsafe and therefore adding more resistance to your journey. Let me go deeper on that so everybody really gets this. It's like your subconscious favorite thing, like its only job, really your mind's only job is to keep you safe. Okay. And when it keeps you safe, it's trying to keep you in what's familiar, what's predictable, and what's certain to it. Even if that familiarity and certainty and predictability is living in the circumstance and reality that you don't want to live in. That's why people will win the lottery and go for broke, like 75% of the population. Why the hell does that happen? Nobody asks. That's why. Well, I just explained it. That's exactly why. Because it's so unfamiliar, it's so unpredictable, and it's uncomfortable to them. And they took the elevator, they didn't take the stairs. So what I love about entrepreneurship and building a business and doing all of this and just really coaching people is that you're helping people build the armor that they need on every step they go up, so that when they get to the top of the stairs, which is actually never, but
in reality, yeah.
I always like to think of it like you take a step and then you're on this new big stair. Like I think of it as a giant staircase. So you're in this new big stair and the next door is closed and you need to learn how to balance here, and then the next door will open and then you can take another step. And then you get to another step. Like a good way to think about this is if you've ever had your first child, you're like, oh my goodness, this stuff's so hard. I'm so tired, right? You're like a happy zombie. And then you realize like enough time goes by that you're like, this was one of the best things I ever did. Maybe I should do it again. But you forgot how crazy the stuff was. Like if we had really good memories and we remembered that stuff, we probably wouldn't have more than one child, right? But then we have this second child, and we have now something to compare it to. And we're like, oh my goodness, I was such a wuss the first time. The second one, having two is so much harder than one. because you didn't have that comparison before. Because when you had just one, it seemed just as hard. And then you have two and it's even harder. That's business. That's like the perfect example of a business. You start to grow it, and the more it grows, more money, more problems, right? Like it starts to develop into its own thing. Okay. But you get to choose whether you believe that or not, right? It might not be more money, more problems, right? It's whatever your subconscious believes to be true will be true for you.
It made me think, I don't know, maybe I have a weird brain. I do.
You
I will
do.
just
Welcome.
we do. We're all weird. My weird brain is thinking an upside down pyramid. Like instead of it getting easier as you go up, it's actually the climbing is harder, but you build the strength.
And you
Excuse
build the
me.
team. Yeah, you build the team and the systems to be able to handle those new levels for sure. And that's the
Totally.
key to this puzzle.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you, because well, there's kind of two ways I could go with this. The first, I'll talk about that first actually, is the reason I signed on with you was I felt probably for the first time, and if any of you are watching this and you haven't experienced this yet, you haven't found your person. But I felt truly seen and
Mm,
understood and cared for in a way that I wasn't just another number in another launch, in another. And
yeah.
when I tried to express myself fully, it was always in a very limited environment, in a group call or, you know, you just need to change the way you're thinking about this or like
Yeah, and
things
the other
like that.
programs.
Totally.
Yeah.
With you, it was like, I know. And I think the thing that made me say yes was there's something subconscious in me that is making it so that I can have all the strategies in the world. I had them all, but I was not able to move forward. And every time I quote failed because it was a mindset problem, my confidence would tank. And it
Totally.
was just like this vicious cycle. So if any of you are in that, seriously, there are people like Matt and I who actually care, and we do want to see people succeed. But it brings me back to all the things I've learned from you, Matt, and really, I call this, to do with having fun, making more money, leads and sales, selflessly serving. I am curious, you and I worked on Entrepreneuropoly together, as you've mentioned, but what was the objective for you? What was the dream behind it? And why did you want to do that? And I think that's where anyone who's listening, watching now or later might be like, huh, I want to try something. So what was it for you?
I think I was tired of playing in the box that all the business coaches had told me I needed to play in. Like I was like if you look, folks, if you go around and you look at everybody's funnel and you look at all of the things out there, it's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, right? And there came a point where I was like, if I'm going to do this, I might as well, it was very Frank Sinatra. I'm going to do it my way. You
Yeah,
know, it's like, and a lot of people, I guess, are afraid to do it their way because they're not sure it's proven it will work. But this is an important point for everybody to understand. All anybody's ever doing, ever, all entrepreneurs, all they're ever doing is what Charlie Munger describes as the machine mindset. So it's really as simple as this, folks. You have a hypothesis. Okay. Now, we want to base your hypothesis on market research. So I've done my market research, folks. I knew that the market would be ready for something new, would be open to this, right? I
right.
want to say even threw it out there was like, hey, would this interest you? Would this be something that you would come to? So that's important to always check, right? So base your hypothesis on your market, not your mind. Your market, not your mind. So don't make this shit up in your head because that's not helpful. Okay. So
I've done it.
yeah,
Not
it's checking in with your market and saying, like, if I built this, would you come? Okay. So if I would you? And I did that and it was a great response. So I was like, okay, I'm on to something. So now I just have to build it. All I did was, so after people said go, that's when my mind's like, boom, let's go. And so I really realized that just working with, hundreds of thousands of people that, like I said, everyone's taking it so seriously. And Katy knows that like in my program, one of the main philosophies I teach people is something called calm knowing. So it's the idea that as long as you show up with the right beliefs and the right attention and the right focus and feelings, then and the right plan, it's going to make action so much easier because there's no resistance. It's like driving a car with the parking brake on when you have those things out of alignment. And a lot of people don't realize that it's all connected. So I took my understanding of 20 years of playing games with kids, 20 years of studying human psychology, over 500 hypnotherapy sessions, over, I mean, at least 10,000 coaching sessions. I just took it all and I was like, what if I just put this all into a bag and we have some fun? What if we put it into a bag and we have some fun and we actually build something that people want to come to and that are engaging with on a regular basis? And the engagement in this thing, y'all, was insane. It was like
Yeah.
crazy to watch how much people were playing, because what it does is it brings out the kid in you, I guess. And it also brings out the competitor in you, whether you're competing with yourself or others. It's also bringing out the what I also was trying to do is bring together entrepreneurs. Like that was a big part of it as well.
Yeah.
You need to understand that we all began somewhere once, right? And the other thing is like we love, actually, this comes back to kind of what Katy was talking about earlier, where like I think when you find the coach for you or the consultant for you, you'll know it because they actually care more about impact than income. The income
True.
comes because of impact. That's how, like, I'm driven just as much by the non-money wins in my clients that I am by the money wins. It's the same as when I was doing the health world with people. I loved the non-scale victories way more than the scale victories because it showed me that they were actually having transformation, not just change, something that no amount of money can ever buy, like no amount of money could ever solve for. And I think a lot of people are chasing the money, which money's dope, folks. It's very cool and you should totally love it. And when you find your thing, it's going to be way more than that. Like my connection with Katy, like, yes, I'm her coach. Okay. But and yes, she totally was my service provider, helped me build out the summits. But we created a connection. And this is another thing I see in the industry. And like people will tell you, don't become friends with your clients. Like you hear this.
Right.
And I think there's a certain extent, I do understand what they're saying, right? All that stuff. And at the same time, if you are a transformational coach, if you're somebody that goes really deep with them, I don't care what anyone says, you can't not. Like like, Katy, do you think I'm probably one of the few people on the planet that knows more about you than anybody else?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that Matt does do is offer RTT sessions, which is basically hypnosis and healing from, those wounds in the past. And some of the things that popped up in those, it's a very vulnerable space when you share that. And so I can't imagine sharing some of those vulnerabilities with someone and then them just being like, oh, we can't talk other than, in the sessions because there's a barrier. Like it would feel wrong to me somehow.
But that's
So
literally how the system's set up. That's
it's
how
true.
that's how therapy's set up. That's how there's this, therapist client, like, so I think that's what I love about coaching is that
Yeah.
you can put it all together however the hell you want. Like you can do this however the hell you want, folks. It's an art form. And you're painting just like painters paint. You're playing the piano just like, musicians play. And that was if you ask me what's one of the biggest ahas I've had in the past 20 years, Alan Watts talks about how we, as human beings, we miss the point of existence. We miss it. And what he says is that it's actually like a musical thing. If you really think about it, like what we're here to do, it's like a musical thing or like a singing thing, right? Composers don't make music just for the last boom. They're not doing that. Dancers don't do the dance to just hit the last step, right?
Right.
Singers don't just hit the high note at the end, right? It's the whole, it's the journey of it all, right? It's dancing the dance, it's singing the song, it's being part of it. And if you think about it, that's the opposite of what society's set up as. Society's set up in grade systems
Yeah.
and moving you along, right? Here you go, here you go. Kindergarten to first grade to second grade to third grade, fourth, fifth, and then once you get there, then you go to college, and then after college, you get a job, and then you stay in that for, decades on end, and then one day you wake up at 40, and you all of a sudden you've arrived at the place you were supposed to be. But then when you arrive there, folks, I think that 80% of the people realize, shit, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
20% of the people are like, man, this is amazing. Like I made it this far. Like I did all these things. This is awesome. But I would say, I would argue that 80% of the population is unpleased with where they are at that time point. But it's also because of their perception and the way that they're seeing the world. So what if we didn't try to work the piano and we just played the piano, right? Because we don't work the piano, folks, do we? We don't work it. We
Mm.
play it. We're not like doing the choreography. We're just dancing. And that's the thing. I think a lot of the business coaches were trying to make me learn their choreography, and I just was not having it. And I wanted to dance my own dance, and I wanted to be myself because what's the point? If we're just going to be a carbon copy of other coaches and people, then we're going to attract their people. Those aren't the people we wanted to be attracting. Like when you come into my group, like Katie will attest, it's just an amazing group of people. Like it's just awesome people, but it's the people that I wanted to attract. Or my being attracted these people, as well as my messaging, my marketing, my sales systems, all of that stuff. So it's a mixture of being, doing, and having.
One of the things that I recall when I first signed on with you, I had done a lot of my own training, leadership, development, all the things. And so this be, do, have concept was like, oh, I know all about that, Matt. And then you had like all these modules and all this stuff. I'm like, I don't want that. I just want you to like give me what I need, give me the happy pill so I can get over myself and go through this thing. But what's been so fascinating is you can understand something intellectually and maybe a little bit at a deeper level, but until someone challenges you with your default thinking, it's almost like you realize you're not practicing the thing that you say you get. So to give you guys an example, and I am not afraid to be vulnerable to share because that's just who I am. But for me, not too long ago, probably a month ago, I was ready to punch Matt in the face. He knows this, it's fine.
Most of
Because,
my clients.
yeah, you're safe. You're on the other side of the screen. Mind
Exactly.
you
That's
said
why
you're
I
a
do
big guy,
virtual. That's why I
so
do virtual.
self-preservation, ladies and gentlemen. But what I realized, I was going through some stuff, and in my mind is the linear system again, where in my mind, the thing that I wanted is on the other side of the ravine from me.
Hmm.
And so I kept investing in coaches and programs and all the things because maybe someone will teach me how to build that bridge to get to the other side. Maybe someone will throw me a rope. Someone will rescue me and help me get across. Like in my mind, that's where it starts. And I hope this resonates for some of you. It was this idea that I need to somehow get to the other side. And you didn't say it in the words per se, but you said something that helped me to connect, to realize I've created a ravine in my head. It doesn't actually exist. That's an illusion. And when it comes to the way of being, you're being as it is right now. And there is no like, after I hit grade 12, or after I do this, or after I do that. It's more this, how can I be what I need to be to have what it is that I desire. But if I keep thinking that that thing is removed from me and there's a gap, I'm going to keep being in the way, like
Totally.
acting as though it is on the other side of the ravine. So it's very deep, but
I love it. You're explaining it really well. It's good.
yeah,
I like to see your version of it because that's the thing. Most of us have to get our like we have to hear it and then we have to like put it together in our head the way we do it, right?
we do. And so for me, it's an art form. You have to practice it constantly. Like there's no, oh, all of a sudden there's no ravine. Yay, we're just gonna keep running. Like I have to stop and ask myself, like, am I in that place again where I'm creating a separation between me and what I know I'm capable of creating? Because I didn't know it, but for a long time I was waiting for someone to rescue me, or I needed a hero to come and save me from myself. But you slowly, painfully after 14 years learn there's nobody coming to save you. Matt has certainly sat down next to me and probably, shaken his head like, how many times have we been over this, Katie? But
But the thing is not being your hero, right? Like
right.
that's not the job of a coach. It's
No.
the coach's job is to see everybody as the empowered creator of their life, right? And so I never looked at Katie like she can't figure this out. I have to do it for her. That's like a
No.
classic like parent trying to save their kid when in actuality you're not doing service to this child. We need to understand how this really works. And the fact that Katie realized like she is the ravine. She is this ravine. And like that's the thing. A lot of us are being our own ravine.
Yep.
when and you all need to realize this. This is such a gold bar right here, folks. The way that you're being right now and the things that you're doing right now, the way you're being and the things you're doing right now will manifest 90 days from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. So how, you're creating right now. So whatever you want to have tomorrow, the next day, a month from now, a year from now, do it now. Be it now. Because if you start tomorrow, then you're putting yourself back on further down this hole. So it's like a lot of us are trying we're trying to do all of this. A
Yep.
lot of entrepreneurs are doers and they're like, why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? Because they're forgetting the being part. They're for well, it's not even they're forgetting. They think they know it, but they just understand it. If you knew it, you would do it, folks. Okay?
Right.
And when you just know it, you do it. You don't even think about it. Like think of what you all do the first thing in the morning. You just do whatever you do. Like most of your day is run on autopilot, subconscious. So you're just flowing and flowing and flowing without even thinking about it. So what makes you think that you're just going to all of a sudden like wake up and break that pattern? But I think a lot of it is because people don't realize that they're actually unconscious most of the day, you know. But I'll
Yeah.
prove it to you, folks. When you are driving and you get to like a yellow light, you don't freak out. You're not like, "Oh." You do your autopilot. You either are like, I'm gonna slow down, or you're the type of person that blows through the yellow light. It's up to you, right? But you know what to do in that moment in time. Like you've developed that program. So we all have these programs and they're running our whole life. And if you don't change the program, okay, it's like changing the channel on television. If you don't change the program, nothing's changing. Okay. And so what happened for Katie was she was like, look, I have all of the things I need, but the program, like it's, it's not
It's
coming
wonky.
through. Yeah. Like I got to change the dial because it's like we got to go to a new station. Cause then once you get to a new station, a new place, and really, this is actually kind of a cool analogy. It's changing your frequency, right? Which
Yeah.
is really what you're doing. You're changing your frequency and your vibration to now be able to get it. Okay. It now can come in. Like I say all the time, content is only as good as your context. I'm going to say it again, y'all. Content is only as good as your context. Some of you are going to listen to me and Katie's conversation today, and it's going to do nothing for you. And you're like,
Yep.
nope, it's all good. And it either means you are way far ahead and you're in a totally different mode, or you just can't hear it yet because your current context and your current subconscious programs are not allowing you to hear it. And that's okay. This is the biggest, most important thing is there is zero judgment in the universe, folks. And if you're judging someone for where they're at, you're not empathizing with them and you're not being discerning. You're probably doing the same shit to yourself. I'm gonna say that again, y'all. If you are judging other people for where they're at or what they're doing or whatever it is, right? You're probably doing the same thing to yourself because it's a mirror. Just like I just said, it's the same mirror. How you're being and what you're doing right now is the mirror takes a moment to catch up, and it will create itself 90 days down the road. And the biggest problem, and this is going to wrap this whole thing in a bow for us today, the biggest problem is that people don't give it long enough in the being. They're not they're not taking long enough time in the being. Like Katy can attest to this. My biggest job working with Katy was like having her stay in this calm knowing long enough for something to manifest on the other end of it. Because it was like, but anytime it would go back, it would be like, well, we're going to have to deal with that in, 30 days. The thing is that people wonder why, like, it catches up. And then the other thing is people don't realize that the universe is going to test you to see if you can hold that vibration and frequency. If you can hold that new dial that now that you're on this new frequency, that you've changed the radio dial and you've changed the program on the station on the TV, now it's like, can you hold it? Or when we serve you up the tests of the universe, number one, nothing changes. Number two, things get harder. You're going to be like, hey, I'm going to go back. Like, it's basically seeing, are you going to hold it or not? And if you pass the test, folks, you get to take that next step and the door will open. And now you get to be on that step. And now we got to wait to open up that next one.
The next step. He's so right, because I know a few months ago, I was going through a month of like, bills, and I was trying very, very hard to get into the calm knowing. As a doer, that's not easy because we want to be doing all the things to make sure that we're prepared. But in the meantime, we're carrying an energy of lack and scarcity. So for me, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm in the calm knowing. Within a week, our fridge died. And it was just like, and you know what? I confess I fell right back into the trap because I hadn't. Yeah, it's a process. It's not like you can just flip a switch. You have to be so intentional, moment by moment sometimes.
And the most important part, and this is something that, I hope has resonated with you, Katy, is like the empathy and discernment for yourself when you do fall back into those programs and patterns, folks. Because this is not about toxic positivity. This is not about thinking that it's all going to be sunshine and rainbows and dancing toothbrushes, folks. Like, that's not what this is. Like, that's just what I imagine.
Okay.
Like, I just imagine in like my imaginary world, there's a dancing toothbrush. I don't know why. It's just what it is.
You really do
Like,
have the
it's
kid
unicorns and like dancing toothbrushes. There's just a lot of fun stuff there, really, is what it is. The thing is like that shit happens. Like, it's gonna happen. And most of the time it happens to test your ability to hold this new level that you're on. That's what it is. It's you are in a different class here in Earth School, and it's basically the finals, it's the final test in the class. Like, are you good?
Right.
Are
you
it's
ready
like,
to move
are you
on?
going to pass the final, or do you need to repeat the class? And most of the time, we end up having to repeat the class, y'all, and we get frustrated with ourselves when we should be showing discernment and empathy for ourselves. And a lot of times I'll tell my clients, like, pretend like you're parenting yourself. Would you, if you were your own parent, would you like talk shit to yourself the way that you do? Like, would you beat your kid up and be like, why aren't you you should have passed that class? But why do we do that? Because it's hardwired, because that's what happened when we were kids. You're not smart enough. You're not good enough. Like, a lot of I would say the first 35 years of my life, I was in what I call a enoughness class. Like, that was my class. And I couldn't pass it for some reason, partly because I had no clue what that was. Like, I didn't know that enoughness is this big ball of things that has a lot of pieces. It's made up of worthiness and confidence and capability and all of this stuff that makes up this thing. And so that, coming back to the earlier question, that's why I built Entrepreneuropoly, because I want to only build things that not just I like, but that people really enjoy and bring joy to people's lives. Like to really like help them transform, bring joy. Yeah. Stop taking life too seriously. Like, let's have some fun.
Let's have some fun. And that is really what it comes back to when it comes to business. I know if I am getting too serious, which I do, but confession, I know that if I send a funny GIF to Matt, and I taught him how to use those, by the way.
She did.
In
Couldn't
Facebook
figure it
Messenger.
out. Yep.
It's fun. But seriously, I think we put so much pressure and weight and just just crippling almost expectation on ourselves, or at least I've been guilty of that, and learning how to let go. Because let's be real, if you're stressed out all the time and you're bogged down, what kind of energy are you putting out? And therefore, how are you going to attract people? Because your thing, Matt, is you're fun, you're real, you're not afraid to be weird, you're running around in an entrepreneuropoly outfit in public, on the streets. That's what it's about, I'm
The
sure.
photographer said it was the best photo shoot she'd ever done. It was the most fun she'd ever had doing not the best she'd ever done. It was the most fun she'd ever had shooting.
Most fun.
Yeah.
Exactly. That
And
would
I
be
was
fun
like,
to
yeah,
watch.
yeah. Oh yeah. And I had people like that I know in my town were like, dude, I drove by your house and like, what were you what were you doing? Because I was in full entrepreneur, I'm Monopoly man garb, folks, and I was like taking fake money and I was just like flowing it. It was like going the wind, it was going up everywhere. So it was awesome. The pictures came out great and they were great for marketing and eye-catching things, because that's another part to this, y'all, is like what's going to make you stand out?
Mhm.
What's going to separate you from every other person, doing this and doing that. And you know, that's where like if you are at that space where you're like, man, I really want to run a summit, but I want to stand out, like that's where you have to connect with Katy, because she's already been there and she knows how to stand out and she knows how to make something that's going to work. But more importantly, just like she said about me, she allows you to be yourself and do it the way that you want to do it, and have the foundations of the house. Like she's going to make sure that the walls are measured and the basement is correctly poured, and like except for you Californians that don't know what a basement is, but I know some people don't have basements, but you know what I mean. Like she's going to make sure the whole structure of the house, she's the architect. She's going to make sure the bones of the summit are all dialed in so that you actually get the results that you want. Because if I would never, ever, 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 ever in my wildest dreams know the things that go into it. It's kind of the same as like Katy would have never, ever, 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 ever known the things that were blocking her. So it took me helping her with that and her helping me with this. And that, my friends, that is really what is going to make this game of entrepreneurship so much more pleasant, when you know you have a friend, a coach, a mentor, somebody who's going to be there and just genuinely cares about you. And
Yes.
that is not common in this space. And when you find it, folks,
Don't let go.
don't let go. Because the thing is a lot of times two people think like, oh, when the program's over, it's over. You can keep a coach for as long as you want. You can keep a consultant as long as you want. Because if you find one that's right for you and it really, really works, especially like if they're good, they're always learning. Like they never stop learning. Like I never stop. Katy never stops. Like we're always evolving to the point where it's like if you work with us this year, it's going to be totally different than working with us next year and the year after that and the year after that and the year after that, right? So I have clients that I worked with 5 years ago that come in now and work with me again. They're like, dude, it's not even the same
No,
stratosphere. So
no.
yeah, feel like this was a
That's
jam-packed hour here.
whew, we covered. Well, I knew we would. I mean, there's just so much we could talk about, but
Yeah.
yeah, like honestly, all in all, wrapping it all up, make it fun, have some fun. Honestly, don't take it so serious, but find your people. I mean,
Totally.
I look at where I was 3 years ago and I thought I found my people, but I was fitting a mold of something else, thinking that that was the way to go. Be
Yeah.
you. Like I just that's something that
Yeah.
I'm passionate about you, Matt. It's like I want to help you. And like you said, I'll put the foundation in place. You choose the colors and the flooring and the decor and all that
Yeah.
stuff. That's you.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm never going to take away from that beauty that is unique. So thank you, my friend.
I think one of the things we should leave everybody with is like, don't be something you're not. Like if you actually don't like fun, don't do that. like like make it whatever you want to make it. Like
Sure.
and but I'll also say this, some of you don't think you're fun or you don't think you're creative or things like that, and that's also false. Okay? Because if you even have like whatever idea or thing was given to you, that's for you, folks. No one can see it yet. Like when I decided to make Entrepreneuropoly, no one knew the hell I was doing, right? Like even Katie was like, "This is wild," but it's like, but you just do it because you know it's what needs to come. That's entrepreneurs, right? When you can create something, there's something in your head, and you take it out and you create it, and you make it something that's real in this third dimensional world.
Yeah. And you don't have to do it alone. That's for
No,
sure. So in fact, I wouldn't recommend doing it alone. I tried that for a long
bad
time. It
idea.
wasn't very effective. Yeah,
Bad idea.
terrible idea. All right, everybody, thank you for watching. If you are catching the replay, hashtag replay, share.
Me
But
too.
thank you, my friend. Have a lovely evening. And to all of you, bye, everybody.